cruel widowed rancher grudgingly took in Martha and her three malnourished children after a town abandoned them to starve in the Dakota winter. Will Martha have the strength to claim the family she never expected as blizzards and perils deepen their temporary arrangement? Martha Wilkins lurched onward, her breath burning in the cold, as a blood-red sunset painted the snowy Dakota frontier. A broken wagon wheel had thrown them off the stagecoach miles earlier. They faced death's cold hand as night fell. 7-year-old James muttered, "Mama, I can't feel my toes," his freckled face bluish with cold. As Martha raised little Rose on her hip, the 4-year-old's weight increased. Sarah, 9, carried their single bag. With hope, Sarah pointed to the lights ahead. Through swirling snow, the chilly ridge's tiny illumination appeared miraculous. Martha's heart raced. Following her husband Daniel's early death from coughing, the newspaper ad for a competent seamstress saved them. 3 months of selling Chicago belongings hardly covered the westward trek. A wolf howled behind them in the darkness. Shaking, James clutched Martha's skirt. Martha told him they wouldn't approach town lights despite her own anxiety. She'd heard wolf packs follow weakness in harsh winters and become brazen. The main street of Frigid Ridge seemed empty as they staggered between decrepit buildings. Martha urgently pounded on a business door with a burning lantern. "Please, shield us." Her knuckles marred the wood with blood. Curtain twitched, showing woman's face. Their eyes met briefly before the curtain fell. Unopened door. Martha tried more buildings. At each, faces showed briefly in windows before disappearing. No one welcomed them. "Why no one helps us?" Sarah asked, her little voice sour with learning. "They're terrified," Martha muttered. "A bad winter makes people go within." Rose shivered and whimperingly cried against Martha's shoulder. Terror gripped Martha. She saw alarming lethargy in her youngest child's limbs. At the street's terminus was a squat town hall painted edifice, windows lit up like false promise. Martha felt heat in her face. A portly man with glasses looked up from a paper-covered desk, irritated. He responded, "We don't offer overnight lodging," before Martha could speak. "We don't want your products." "Mayor Hollister?" Martha removed the folded ad from her coat pocket. "Martha Wilkins, attending your seamstress request. 3 weeks ago, my letter was acknowledged." Mayor scarcely noticed the paper. "Positions filled. Daughter of Mrs. Carter took it. Local girl." Martha's last hope failed. However, you replied, "We sold everything to come." Pre-trip telephoning would have confirmed. Shrugging, he resumed his paperwork. "That makes sense. Please?" Martha tried to avoid sounding desperate. "My kids need shelter tonight. We can afford accommodations." Hollister watched the youngsters, lingering on Rose's sick face. Martha believed she saw pity. He finally said, "It's full of railroad surveyors. Churches sometimes host travelers." White steeple down the street. They had brief hope until church. Dark windows, locked entrance with front sign. "Pastor Keller absent till spring, be blessed." Martha almost collapsed. The temperature decreased at night. Their clothing were sliced by wind. Rose stopped shivering, a bad indication. "Mama." James yanked her sleeve, pointing out of town. "What's the lit building?" An apparent stable or livery had a dim lantern. Martha led her children there out of desperation, unlocked the thick wooden door. They entered to the fragrance of hay and horses, still cold enough to see their breath, but warmer than outside. Martha murmured, "Hide behind those hay bales tonight. Things will work out tomorrow." She covered the youngsters in loose hay in a nook away from the door for warmth. On her hand, Rose's forehead burnt. "Cold fighting fever. Discuss Papa's house again?" Sarah asked quietly, nestling Rose between James and her. Martha touched her daughter's hair. "Montana was where your papa built our lovely home. Glass windows and a porch swing on 2 floors. Each of you had a bedroom." The stable door slammed open, releasing a blast of cold air that ended their murmured dreams. A huge snow-dusted shadow filled the doorway. Spur jingling broke the silence. "Present yourself." His voice echoed thunder. "I smell smoke on your clothes. Leave before I get my shotgun." Martha carefully stood, separating the stranger from her hidden children. She struggled to speak. "Sir, please excuse the breach. The town supplied no refuge. My child has fever. Only need." "Town kicked you out in this weather?" The man entered the lantern light, showing a wrinkled face and a silver-flecked dark beard. As he examined Martha's ragged clothes and forlorn demeanor, his pale winter eyes narrowed. A child stiffened from hay pile, coughing. How many? He demanded. 3 kids. My daughter Rose has fever. Swearing, he stroked his hair with a glove. He stood silent for a long time, his rough face showing turmoil. Martha paused. The wind howled like hungry wolves outside. He ultimately identified himself as Jedediah Blackwood, ranch 3 miles west. No leaving kids in this cold. Relief weakened Martha's knees. Any is appreciated. No charity. Blackwood rudely ended it. Still need housekeeping. Cook and clean till the stage returns in 2 weeks. That's it. Before Martha could react, he moved to the door. My wagon's outside. Gather your kids. Worsening storm. Martha removed her children from their hiding place, and Sarah whimpered, Mama, can we trust him? As Blackwood checked his horses, Martha gazed at his broad back. Other options popped into her head. Locked church, distant faces, Rose's burning forehead. She sometimes muttered, holding Rose, We have no choice but to trust. Martha didn't realize as they hopped into Blackwood's wagon that this desperate decision would transform their survival and the meaning of home. Jedediah Blackwood's wagon groaned through snow as storm clouds swallowed the stars. Martha held Rose in her chest. A terrifying contrast to the chilly night was the child's fever. Sarah and James cuddled under a buffalo robe, uncertain. Will your ranch have further kids, Mr. Blackwood? James abruptly inquired, breaking the tension. The question lingered in the cold. Jedediah's bulky cloak strained his shoulders. No children, he said gravelly. After my wife died, just myself. Sarah pressed against Martha. Undercurrents of emotion have always affected the girl. How died she? Sarah blurted and crouched at Martha's admonition. Jedediah gripped the reins. The darkness was filled with the crunch of snow under wagon wheels for several heartbeats. Martha instinctively wrapped Rose in her arms as he claimed fever stole her 5 winters back and our unborn child. What kind of man was this stranger they trusted with their lives? Although he appeared stern, his little break when addressing his wife indicated deep emotions. 2-story log house tucked in the hillside appeared as the wagon climbed a little slope. One downstairs window had lamplight. Large barns and corrals stood gloomy in the snow nearby. Home. Simple announcement from Jedediah. He carried their small luggage while Martha held Rose. Fever made the kid moan. Her tiny face reddened despite the cold. This house's interior startled Martha. She imagined bachelor filth but discovered clean, Spartan furniture. Despite dying to pale coals, a stone fireplace dominated the whole room. Handcrafted tables and chairs showed care. Only heavy dust indicated neglect. Extra space upstairs, Jedediah said. Rekindling the fire was fated. No worries now. Upstairs stove works. Martha placed the kids on a worn sofa while Jedediah lit lamps and got the fire going. On her hand, Rose's forehead burnt. Anyone have willow bark tea? Martha asks. Jedediah motioned toward the kitchen for fever. There are pantries. The tin box held Catherine's meds. Catherine lingered between them. The first mention of the house's former owner. Martha located the tin in the pantry and started boiling water. She toured the kitchen by lamplight while the tea brewed. Dust aside, everything was ordered carefully. Dried herbs on ceiling hooks, preserved fruits on one shelf, and cooking tools by size. Martha noticed your wife's order when Jedediah entered. His finger traced the dirty counter. She believed everything had its place. The simple phrase conveyed so much loss that Martha turned away to make tea. Rose struggled to drink the bitter medicine, but Martha was satisfied. Jedediah advised bringing wood for the bedroom stove and settling them upstairs. Winter nights were freezing. The upstairs room was unused for years. Wide bed with fading quilt dominated the space. Rocking chairs sat by windows. A woman's shawl still on her back. A half-finished crib in the corner was most telling. Sanding smoothed its wood, but it was never finished. Martha looked at awkward Jedediah at the doorway. He focused on the crib. I couldn't finish it, he whispered. Remove it. Martha stroked smooth wood rails. My husband Daniel created cradles for each of our children because he believed every baby deserved a loving start. Jedediah's countenance showed understanding. He lighted the stove and let them to settle in without saying anything. Martha put the kids in the huge bed, placing Rose in the middle so Sarah and James could cuddle. Willow bark tea helped the girl sleep despite her fever. Mama, shall we remain? Martha smoothed the quilt over them as Sarah whispered. Martha assured her until the stage returned. Kind Mr. Blackwood provided shelter. Sleepily, James said, "He's scary. His eyes aren't cruel." Cabinets opened and closed downstairs. Martha crept to the stairwell landing and saw Jedediah opening his cupboard. Coffee, flour, dry beans. Martha descended the steps, inhaling. "I'll make dinner for Mr. Blackwood. It's my humble response to your compassion." He was astonished by her offer. "No need, used to working alone. I insist." Martha entered the kitchen to examine his ingredients. "I realize we have simple tastes in challenging times." Jedediah's wrinkled face showed signs of softness for the first time. "Catherine said I'd eat sawdust to labor another hour." Despite herself, Martha grinned. The same Daniel, instead of making new biscuits, ate 3-day-old ones. They shared an odd moment. The ghosts of their ex-spouses in survival unite two people. Jedediah's throat clearing broke the enchantment. A canister of coffee. Still good, I think. Working in startling silence was comfortable. Jedediah cooked beans with salt pork while Martha made biscuits. The typical routine of cooking normalized this weird circumstance. "Little one, severe fever?" Jedediah asked while eating at the kitchen table. Martha nods. "Started yesterday. Her adventure weakened her." "Was my sister killed by winter flu as a child?" Jedediah said. A factual voice. "It takes strong guys, too." Martha was scared. "Can't lose her." Jedediah's expression changed. "Doc Peterson lives 5 miles north. Good man despite grumbling. Pick him up at dawn. We can't pay. Peterson owes me." Jedediah stopped her. "Pulled his wagon from Spring Creek last year's flood." Later, while washing their few dishes, Martha studied the stranger who had taken them in. He moved efficiently without struggling. Despite disrepair, his home was well built. Tight corners, level shelves, strong handcrafted furniture. "Your home is well made," she said. "Built it yourself?" Pride flared across his face. "Each log took 3 years. Catherine designed it with large windows for morning light." "She has terrific taste," Martha said, noting the carefully placed windows that would capture dawn's initial rays. Jedediah's face softened as his wife was mentioned. "She built this with more than nails and boards." His eyes wandered when she died, as if noticing dust and neglect for the first time. "I must have stopped noticing." A shriek from upstairs broke the moment. Rose's fever rose. Martha found her petite body struggling against the sheets. Young Sarah sat by her sister, terrified. "She claims to be cold but is blazing." Sarah wept. Martha had finished the willow bark tea. As she sought to calm Rose's frantic whimpers, she panicked. Jedediah arrived with heavy staircase tread. After assessing the situation, he went downstairs without saying anything. He returned shortly later with a clothed bundle. He unwrapped dried herbs and roots to illustrate Catherine's unusual combination. Martha watched him for fevers worse than willow bark. "You've always held these?" He glanced at her defensively. "I didn't realize the youngster was awful. These are potent chill remedies." Catherine studied with the Lakota healer during the first harsh winter. Jedediah made medicine downstairs as Martha held Rose. His bitter tea boiled in the lamplight. He said she must swallow it. Not tasty, but effective. They forced the drug into Rose, who struggled with its bitterness. Martha was astonished when Jedediah placed a worn palm on Rose's forehead. Amazingly gentle for a gruff dude. He moaned at high fever, but she's stronger. Martha looked up and found unexpected comfort in his steady stare. "You know that how?" The corners of Jedediah's eyes wrinkled. Your determination on her face. "In my stable, you saw it. Ready to battle a stranger for your kids." On Martha's chest, something warm emerged. Appreciation and acknowledgement. This tough man with calloused hands understood her intense love that drove her west following Daniel's death, seeking any way to feed and house her kids. Standing from the bed, Jedediah advised rest. "Tea will be brought in 2 hours. We'll watch overnight." Martha called Mr. Blackwood at the door. As he turned, she continued softly, "Thanks for accepting us." Shadows crossed his face. "One who leaves children in freezing temperatures is unworthy of his position." Martha slept in the big bed with her kids after he left. Outside, snow fell again, gently striking the window glass. She wondered what fate had brought them to this stranger's house on this night, surrounded by his previous sufferings. She couldn't have known then that the genuine storm, one that would challenge their survival and the essence of family, was still brewing. Clear as a knife, dawn broke over the snowy ranch. The early hours saw Rose's fever break. She fell asleep with her petite body cooling. Martha, fatigued from the night's vigil, watched the sun goldize the white landscape from the bedroom window. Pots clattered downstairs, signaling Jedediah's kitchen presence. Coffee smelled thick and enticing up the stairs. Martha went downstairs to the main floor and wrapped her children in blankets. With his back to the door, Jedediah stood at the stove, shaved. She was surprised. Without the silver-flecked beard, his powerful jaw and faded right cheek scar were visible. Martha stated, "The medicine worked," entering the kitchen. Rose is sleeping normally. Nodding, Jedediah turned as if expecting nothing less. Catherine always believed good medication takes time, pointed to the coffee pot. "Help yourself." Mixed flapjack batter. Martha felt weirdly comfortable watching this gruff stranger make breakfast in his decrepit kitchen as her children slept upstairs. They faced death in the snow yesterday. She started with Mr. Blackwood. He corrected Jedediah, pouring batter onto the hot griddle. Someone who spends the night saving a youngster should use his real name. Martha tried Jedediah again, unfamiliar with the name. "I wish to compensate for your assistance and shelter." His shoulders tensed. "I told you last night, not charity." "I want to pay my own way," Martha said. "I saw your house needs a deep clean. The mound of repairs by your chair is large. No offense, but your clothing are old." Jedediah turned, spatula in hand, expressionless. "Offering to work?" Martha explained her discussion. "For cooking, cleaning, and sewing, I get room and board for my family. Until the stage returns." Something like relief crossed his face. "The deal is fair." Their negotiation was interrupted by little feet on the stairs. James entered the threshold with sleep-torn hair and wide eyes at the stove cooking flapjacks. "Are those pancakes?" he inquired. Wonder's silent voice. Jedediah relaxed. "Flapjacks, best in Dakota. The last cattle drive cook said I outcooked him fairly." James entered the room, captivated by the lovely smell. "Papa made Sunday pancakes." Jedediah's expression darkened when the boy's father was mentioned. Then, "Your father cooked well. Smart man." James proudly said he was a lawyer. "Mama thinks even attorneys must cook." Martha followed the conversation. James rarely mentioned Daniel to strangers. The youngster remained silent for months following his father's death. "Your mom's right," Jedediah agreed, expertly flipping a golden-brown flapjack. "Man should be self-sufficient no matter his profession." Sarah led a transformed Rose next. Little girl's cheeks revealed fever's flush, but her eyes were clear and awake. "Who feels better?" Sarah announced, leading her sister to Martha. Small fingers played with Martha's dress buttons as Rose crept into her mother's lap. "Mama, my horse-talking dreams were funny." Jedediah laughed, startling everyone with its warmth. "Fever dreams. As a Rattler victim, I had those. Thought my horse was saying Shakespeare." Children laughed, releasing tension from their little frames. Martha understood their fear. Odd house, odd man, feverish sister. Breakfast was unexpectedly good. Jedediah cooked well and the kids devoured the flapjacks. Sarah and James grilled Martha about his ranch while she scrubbed dishes. "You have how many cows? Do you have horses for rides? Have you shot a bear?" With extraordinary patience, Jedediah addressed each inquiry. 200 cattle. However, none are soft enough for young horses. I shot a bear that was stealing my winter supplies, made a good rug. The children had missed the bearskin beside the hearth yesterday due to weariness. Martha noticed Jedediah's eyes lingering on Rose, who was sitting under a blanket by the fire, playing with wooden spools she found in a basket. "I never expected to hear kids in this house," he said gently while the bigger kids explored the porch. Martha comprehended an unspoken message. "This house was built for an unborn family. Children provide life to any home," she said. Jedediah donned his bulky coat after breakfast. "North pasture animals must be checked. Storm may have scattered them." "Are you leaving long?" Martha inquired, surprised by her worry. "Back before midday," he promised. "Well-stocked properties. Give yourself what you need." After Jedediah left, Martha arranged her little staff. Sarah watched Rose as Martha and James cleaned the filthy main room. Martha handed James a dustcloth, explaining that Saturday mornings at home were like that. Papa would check our work with white gloves. James grinned at the memory and always found dust behind the bookcase. They swept, dusted, and polished. Martha was thrilled to see Jedediah's neglected home firmly built and tastefully fitted. Furniture workmanship went beyond basic utilitarian demands. She assumed Catherine had cared significantly about making this house a home. Martha found a cloth-wrapped set of china dishes in a corner cupboard. A beautiful blue design evoked Eastern sophistication, strange for a frontier dwelling. "Pretty plates," Rose said, eyeing Martha's skirts. Martha said yes, very nice, carefully rewrapping them. These weren't everyday dishes, she recognized. These momentous dates may have awaited celebrations that never arrived. Midway through cleaning, Martha heard James exclaim from the front porch, "Ride's coming, Mama." Martha ran outside, heart beating. 3 horsemen charged the house in the snow. None was Jedediah. Martha ordered the kids inside, back through the door. "Stay away from windows." The riders stopped short of the house. The slender, cold-eyed commander looked surprised at the chimney smoke and swept porch. He hailed the home hello. "Blackwood about?" Martha moved onto the porch, leaving the door open for escape. "Mr. Blackwood is absent. Can I help?" Men looked at each other. The leader smiled unpleasantly. "When did Jed acquire a woman?" "Holding out on us." Martha's back tensed. "Not me. We're staying until the stage returns. Who's called?" "Victor Grantham," the man supplied. Mock tips his hat. "My brother Eli and pal Tucker. My father has the largest westward holding." Martha recognized the posture from living with guys. "Mr. Blackwood will know you visited." Victor looked over the house, focusing on the repaired fence and newly swept steps, which looked cozy. "Since the wife died giving delivery, no lady has been here." The casual harshness of his reference to Catherine's death chilled Martha. "Not Jedediah's buddies." "Mr. Grantham, your message?" Martha requested that the men leave before the kids peeked out. "Just inform him Victor's offer stands. Dad's patient, but patience wears out like everything else." His smile never reached his eyes. Quite cold in winter to be alone. The menace hovered between them. Martha nodded blankly. "Tell him." Martha slumped on a kitchen chair with shaking hands when the riders left. Sarah emerged from the bedroom with the younger kids. "Mama, who were those men?" Their words were cruel. Martha kept her cool, just neighbors communicating. Sarah was 9 and sure they weren't neighbors. "Neighbors aren't scary." Jedediah stomped in through the rear door, bringing chilly air, before Martha could answer. One look at Martha's face informed him something was awry. "What happened?" Shrugging off his snow-covered coat, he demanded. "Victor Grantham and 2 others visited," Martha stated quietly, leaving a message about a still-standing offer and winter isolation. His face clouded. "Granthams are efficient." His hair stood on end when he stroked it. "I should have expected them to sniff about after the snow." "They are who?" Martha asks. "Grabbers of land," Jedediah spat, "trying to buy me out for years. Old Grantham dreams of cattle baronship. Needs my water." Children stared with wide eyes as he glanced. "Nothing to worry about. Every winter Grantham threatens." But Martha saw his fear underneath his comfort. She saw the weapon beside the door for the first time in the strong window light. She assumed loaded, not just for wolves. How had accepting this stranger's help endangered her children? As James went to show Jedediah their cleaning efforts, the rancher's face relaxed, easing Martha's concerns. Whatever his struggles with the Granthams, Jedediah Blackwood protected his house and its inhabitants. 3 days later, a northwest blizzard turned day into dusk at noon. With practice, Jedediah saw it coming that morning, watching the heavy clouds. "Bad one coming," he said over breakfast. "Need prep." The day was busy. Jedediah cut wood till the pile alongside the house was taller than James. Martha filled every pot and bucket with water. The kids have to bring root cellar food. Mid-afternoon saw the first fat snowflakes. Rose covered her ears in fear an hour later when the wind became a banshee wail. "What's its duration?" Martha asked as they watched white fury destroy the world beyond the windows in the kitchen. 3 days, maybe 4, Jedediah said grimly. "This happened in 79. Was almost lost after checking cattle." Implications lingered. How things might have changed if they had stayed in town and sheltered in the unheated church with a doubtful roof. He banked fires in the kitchen stove and big fireplace as the storm brought darkness early. He advised wood conservation. "After this storm, we may be snowed in for a week." They gathered in the main room that evening for the fireplace's warmth and light. Martha located Jedediah's mending basket and fixed his shirts as the kids played a guessing game he taught them. He showed James how to give animal cues without naming them by recalling a winter game his father played with him. Entertainment was homemade then. Martha observed with curiosity. Although stern and distant, Jedediah was kind to the kids. He patiently answered their countless inquiries, recounted frontier stories that opened their eyes, and crafted a miniature wooden horse for Rose from a scrap of pine. On the second blizzard day, calamity happened. A scary barn creak signaled doom as the temperature fell. While staring through a cleared glass, Jedediah cursed. "East side of barn roof has too much snow. Can we wait out the storm?" Martha asked, noticing the snow wall beyond the glass. Jedediah's expression answered. "There are 4 horses and 2 milk cows. Complete roof collapse kills." He put on layers, wool shirt over his clothes, heavy coat on top, scarf around his face till only his eyes showed. "Take this," he replied, offering Martha a rope coil, tying one end to the porch posts. "Take the other end. I can only return to white blindness." Martha was scared. "Is there no alternative? Not if you want those animals to live." Jedediah examined his gloves for holes. "If not returned in 20 minutes, I'm gone." Martha tied the rope with shaky hands while the kids gazed in awe. Jedediah nodded and went into the screaming white emptiness, rope after him. Minutes felt like hours. As Jedediah approached the barn, Martha saw the rope tighten and loosen at the window. After 15 minutes, the rope stopped moving. Sarah appeared at Martha's elbow. "Something's wrong." "Is it?" Martha watched the dead rope fade into white. Jedediah's connection to the house was the rope. "Watch your brother and sister if he dropped it." Martha chose Jedediah's extra coat. "Mama, no." James sobbed, understanding. "No going outside." Martha knelt before kids. "We survived because Mr. Blackwood brought us here. If I can help, I can't let him die in that storm." "What if you don't return?" Sarah muttered, expressing their concern. Martha embraced them tightly. "Barricade my door. Don't open it until I or Mr. Blackwood speak." Martha was pelted by the storm as she left. The cold took her breath as the wind tried to rip her coat off. Blinding snow limited visibility to a few inches. The rope in her gloved hands was her only safety. Martha held hands and followed the rope to the barn. More than the glass showed, the distance looked impossible. Her knees buckled twice in mid-thigh snow. She always stood up after thinking of Rose's feverish face and Jedediah's generosity. Darkly appearing through the snowy shroud was the barn. Martha found the entrance partially blocked by snow after following the rope. Inside, the east ceiling part had fallen, allowing further snow to develop lethal drifts among the stalls. Her voice was blown away when she called Jedediah. A distant sound replied. Martha found Jedediah conscious but imprisoned behind snow-covered timbers. The blood from his forehead wound froze on his cheek. When he saw her, he grunted, "Stupid woman." "You were told to stay put and freeze?" Martha examined the beam pinning his leg from beside him. "You saved my kids. Was I expected to do less?" They moved the timber sufficiently for him to escape. Right leg couldn't bear weight. He claimed it was badly wrenched, not broken. Despite fear, the horses and cows survived. Gritting his teeth, Jedediah instructed to move them to the west stalls. Martha, raised on her father's Pennsylvania horse farm, calmed the animals away from the damaged portion with confident hands and words. They safely transported all 6 animals under her kind guidance. As she locked the last stall door, Jedediah noticed, "You've handled livestock." Martha said, "My father raised Morgans before drink and gambling took everything, helping him up." "People are harder to understand than animals," he constantly remarked. The trip home was a nightmare of bewilderment and tiredness. New snow partially buried their lone guidance, the rope. Martha kneeled in the snow alongside Jedediah after his third stumble. "Leave me," he said, barely audible over the wind. "Return to the kids." Martha faced him with her face near. "My hubby mentioned that before his fever. I've seen one good man die, no more watching." She lifted him with desperate vigor. "Our kids await us." They reached the house as Martha's strength waned. Sarah's face vanished from the window. The door flew open seconds later. James and Sarah helped Martha carry Jedediah inside where they felt warm. The kids were good helpers, following Martha's instructions. James removed Jedediah's icy boots as Sarah got blankets. Rose, a tiny girl, brought a pillow from the upstairs bed with firm intent. "You pursued him like Papa." Sarah calmly watched Martha clean Jedediah's forehead cut. Martha paused at the simple statement's weight. She was right. She struggled as hard to save Jedediah as Daniel from the fever. The realization unsettled her. Martha watched over Jedediah's makeshift bed by the fire that night. She bandaged his damaged leg in pine-scented liniment from Catherine's medicine box and put it on cushions. The blizzard continued, but now that everyone was indoors, its screams were less frightening. "You shouldn't have followed me," Jedediah muttered, breaking the silence. Martha looked up from sewing. "Would you have abandoned me?" Her gaze were held by his firelight-reflected eyes. "No, don't expect less from me," she said. Jedediah's gaze changed. Respect fused with something deeper that made Martha look away first. "You're Catherine," she replied, pointing to the mantle daguerreotype. "She must have been wonderful," Jedediah said softly. "Educated in the East, she could have lived any life. Instead, pick this wilderness." She preferred building than inheriting. Martha realized, "She helped you build all this. Everything, not just home." Jedediah's voice grew strained. 100 acres became 2,000. Together, we designed every fence post and livestock head. Martha considered her Daniel, excellent in court but useless with hammers and nails. They had distinct partnerships. "Finding a true mate is a rare blessing," she whispered. Jedediah said it was rarer to locate too. His eyes held hers for a significant minute before closing exhausted. Martha watched his chest slowly rise and fall as he slept all night. The blizzard subsided, and the winds fell to groans. Jedediah and Catherine's robust barriers protected their small group from the storm and a chilly world that had rejected them. Catherine's portrait on the mantel caught the firelight, her soft eyes watching over them. Martha wondered how this woman she'd never met would feel about them taking refuge in her home. "Thanks," Martha whispered to the photo. "We'll look after him until he's better." She had no idea how those words, said in the solitude of a stormy night, would impact their futures. As dawn broke, window ice crystals shone like diamonds. After 3 days, the snow subsided, leaving smooth white drifts that covered fences and minor outbuildings. Jedediah tested his damaged leg at the window while using a rough crutch James helped build. His typically reserved countenance revealed remarkable shock. "Never seen so deep snow," he remarked. "Not in 20 years. Martha joined him at the window with a hot coffee. "Will cattle live?" "Most will. They know to hide behind bluffs." His attention shifted to the barn's half-collapsed roof. "Thanks to you, horses and cows survived." Martha's cheeks grew hot at the whispered compliments. After 3 days of forced intimacy, something changed between them, a developing ease punctuated by unpleasant awareness when their hands unintentionally touched or gaze held too long. James, 9, dashed inside the room, declaring himself trapped. "Snow blocked the entrance door as I tried to open it." Jedediah laughed. "Clear back doors. Northside storms always deepen." Little Rose entered in her nightgown with Jedediah's wooden horse. "Forever stuck? Not forever, sweetness?" Martha encouraged her, lifting the infant on her hip. "Until roots can be cleared, no stage will run for at least 2 weeks," Jedediah said, his tone bland despite his emotion. Always observant, Sarah peered between grown-ups. "We must stay longer?" Martha said if Mr. Blackwood allowed it, suddenly aware of intruding on his hospitality. Jedediah replied quickly, "I need that help we agreed on, even though the place is big enough." Martha discovered Jedediah at his desk in the small room off the main parlor, as the children built snow forts in the sheltered yard back the house later that morning. The ledger sprawled before him. He calculated numbers with a frown. "Bad news?" she asked from the entrance. He looked up and invited her in. "Blizzards always cause losses. Just how many?" Martha approached the desk and saw Jedediah's exact calligraphy on the numbers. "You record carefully." "Catherine's impact. She did it all." He touched the ledger. "They were wonderful teammates as I did the physical job." "May I?" Martha inquired, going for the ledger as he nodded. The neat accounting amazed her as she scanned the records. Her father's horse breeding business failed due to his messy paperwork. "You grasp it?" Quite surprised, Jedediah asked. "I learned basic accounting from my spouse to handle home finances throughout his court appearances." Martha fingered a column. "Compared to Chicago, these cattle prices are modest." Jedediah leaned forward curiously. "I have that issue. Local buyers know my selling alternatives are limited. Railroads 20 miles south." Martha researched the records. "Have you considered Army contracts? Soldiers at Fort Randall always need beef." Jedediah regarded her. "How do you know Army contracts?" Daniel represented Illinois livestock suppliers. Martha softly closed the ledger. The army pays high prices for great documents, which you have. Jedediah sat startled for some moments. His harsh visage turned into a gentle smile, making Martha's pulse skip a beat. He marveled at a seamstress who knows cattle markets and bookkeeping. Martha Wilkins, you have hidden skills. She was interrupted by a noise outside. Alarmed voices. They ran to the window to see Sarah racing toward the house, pale with fear. James guarded Rose against the Grantham brothers, two mounted guys. While running outdoors, Jedediah grabbed his weapon from by the door, forgetting his damaged leg. Martha followed, her heart pounding on her ribs. Your scumbags are on future Grantham land, Victor shouted when he saw Jedediah leave the house. Jedediah stood between motorcyclists and kids. Return to your homeland, Victor. I guard these kids. Eli Grantham pointed to the barn in disrepair. Blackwood, you can barely defend your structures. Bad luck if your house was next. Martha watched James's clenched fists and Sarah's protective arm around Rose as the children gathered behind her. Despite the danger, she was proud of her brave children facing bullies. Your father's threats don't terrify me, Jedediah said calmly. Never did. Vic's steely eyes met Martha. Got a new wife? Catherine's grave is barely cold. The harsh remark hurt. Martha noticed Jedediah's rifle barrel knuckles whiten. This confrontation might be fatal with one mistake. Mr. Blackwood generously provided blizzard shelter, Martha stated firmly, moving forward. Victor was uncertain because of her stress on decorum, as any Christian man would for a wife and children in need. A woman's frank challenge surprised him. Victor gathered his reins and remarked, just passing on father's word. His patience is waning. This winter is his last negotiation. Nothing to negotiate, Jedediah stressed. You can't buy this land. Not now. Never. The Granthams turned their horses, but Victor called over his shoulder. Long winter Blackwood. Accidents occur. Martha shakily breathed when they disappeared over the ridge. James quickly asked excited questions. Are they evil men? They want your land. Why? Can I learn your rifle shooting? The boy's countenance softened when Jedediah ruffled his hair. Men crave what's not theirs. I'll show you rifle proper use when you're older. The casual vow, which extended beyond their temporary arrangement, hovered between Martha and Jedediah as they looked over the children's heads. After the kids went to bed, Martha found Jedediah methodically cleaning his gun at the kitchen table. Are they truly going to hurt you? Her question was silent. His hands froze. Grantham has tried to expel me for years. My land provides the best 10-mile water access. Without it, his cattle empire fantasies are just that. With Catherine gone, he sees you as weak. Martha ended. Been worse since she died, Jedediah said. Like they're waiting for me to break. He looked at her, plagued by memories. Nearly did that first year without her. Martha instinctively put her hand on his. But you didn't. The little touch warmed her arm. Jedediah clasped her hand, calluses on her palm. Having you and the kids here, he started and paused, fumbling for words. House thrives again. Martha understood. Their unexpected refuge from danger and loss. Temporary sanctuaries may be hardest to leave. The stage will appear. She softly reminded him, withdrawing her touch. Jedediah frowned. Yes, Montana awaits your ambitions. Martha felt a punch when Montana was mentioned. Her thoughts of their initial destination had faded in days. The strange sense of belonging they'd found here made their Helena Hotel seamstress dreams seem remote and hollow. James requested we stay. Her words were hushed. Jedediah's face showed hope before he hit it. Children bond easily. Martha asked adults, shocking herself with her audacity. Jedediah looked at her. Years passed before some ties formed. Others arrived suddenly as blizzards. A moment of unspoken possibility stretched between them. Martha felt at a crossroads, one route to her uncertain future and planning, the other toward something odd yet right. Both had to stop talking. A sound from upstairs broke the spell. Sleeping Rose wailing. Martha arose swiftly. Her gratitude for the interruption kept her from naming her sentiments. Martha was confused as she climbed the stairs. She moved west to start over for her kids, not to become involved with a stranger fighting his own struggles. But Jedediah Blackwood become more than a stranger in days. How would Daniel see her growing bond to this tough frontier rancher? The question tormented her as she put Rose to sleep. Her husband was well educated. Jedediah lacked. but she couldn't dispute Jedediah's strength and kindness beneath his tough appearance. Through the window, Martha saw the huge white area surrounding the solitary ranch house. She remembered Grantham's threat. She may endanger her children by staying. She may leave the first true haven they'd found since Daniel's death. Martha silently vowed as moonlight etched silver patterns on snow. She would choose based on one truth. Her children's safety trumped her heart's unsure desires. Hammering boomed across the snow-covered yard. As Jedediah repaired the barn roof, he balanced on a wooden ladder, nailing planks, as brilliant, chilly February sunshine played off the snow. Martha watched him carefully mix bread dough from the kitchen window. Alongside her, Sarah prepared stew-pot vegetables. Mr. Blackwood mended James's sled yesterday. Sarah sliced a carrot with her knife. He claimed James has engineer-like hands. Martha smiled at her daughter's nonchalant report. Jedediah had spent more time with the kids in the 2 weeks since the blizzard teaching James woodworking, Sarah how to recognize animal tracks in the snow, and patiently answering Rose's incessant inquiries about chickens and stars. Mr. Blackwood generously shares his knowledge. Martha spoke cautiously. Sarah looked sideways at her mother, seeming too aware for her 9 years. He looks at you like Papa. Martha's cheeks burst with heat. Sarah, that's inappropriate conversation. Sarah said it's true. Your smile has increased even when no one is watching. The back door opened before Martha could respond. James hurried in, excitedly blushing. He announced Ryder's arrival, but not the mean Grantham's. Elegant carriage with a tall-hatted man. Martha wiped her hands on her apron and left, averting her eyes from the winter sun. A black carriage was moving approaching the home on the cleared path. Paired gray horses pulled it. Not Grantham style, Jedediah waited for the carriage after descending from the barn top. He kept his hand near the revolver at his hip since the Grantham's warning. A distinguished elderly guy in an expensive fur coat and stovepipe hat came from the carriage. The silver beard was well trimmed. He was commanding without being aggressive. Blackwood called jokingly, thinking I would find you undamaged after that huge storm. His posture relaxed. Judge Parsons, far from Fort Pierre. Judge replied, circuit business, then saw Martha on the porch. He bowed to remove his hat. Excuse my interruption, madam. Judge Elias Parsons, yours. Martha nodded at the introduction, watching the judge's eyes widen as he saw the youngsters looking around her skirts. He looked at her and Jedediah curiously. Jedediah explained swiftly that the storm stranded the Wilkins family, offering temporary shelter until the stage runs again. Ah, Christian kindness. The judge smiled but seemed wise. Could I use your charity for coffee? These roads are hard on ancient bones. Judge Parsons was entertaining inside. He told the kids frontier justice stories as Martha made coffee and biscuits. His eyes saw everything. Note the clean house, children's comfort with Jedediah, the silent conversation between Martha and their host. Grantham worked while you were snowed in. The judge casually told Fort Pierre residents that you've abandoned your land when the debate turned to local issues. Thought your disappearance might require governmental investigation. His face clouded. I haven't left my farm in 5 years. He knows. I found it strange that Judge Parsons sipped his coffee deliberately. Coleridge reportedly turned away a widow and children after the worst storm in decades. Martha tensed. The judge regarded her intently. Mrs. Wilkins, little towns may be the finest and worst of humanity. I suppose Coleridge was worst. Martha said politely, conscious of the youngsters listening. They had their reasons. No reason to leave kids in the temperatures. Jedediah repeated his first night words. Judge Parsons nodded solemnly. I agree, which is why I detoured to warn Mayor Hollister that denying emergency shelter violates territorial statutes I helped write. Happiness lit his eyes. His face got the most intriguing purple. Despite herself, Martha laughed. She received grandfatherly love from the judge. I also asked about the seamstress position. It appears Mrs. Carter's daughter eloped with a cattle driver after 3 days. Hope filled Martha. Open position again? Indeed. The judge paused deeply. Seeing your condition, I wonder if your plans have changed? Implicit question hung in the air. Martha's face heated up as she avoided Jedediah's stare. She patiently explained that our arrangement is temporary till the stage returns next week. Judge Parsons provided, knowingly watching them both. Great timing. as I've been requested to arbitrate Helena land claims. Mrs. Wilkins, I could protect you and your children. The surprise offer hit like a stone in quiet water. Martha sensed Jedediah's tension beside her. She replied, "That's nice." An awkward hush fell between Martha and Jedediah when the judge left, vowing to return in a week for her answer. The youngsters retreated to the small bedroom that had become their playroom during the long winter days, feeling stress. Finally, Jedediah murmured, peering out the window, "Helena's a good town for a fresh start, growing fast." Martha twisted her apron. That's what the commercial said. They had another extended pause, packed with words they couldn't say. "I should check the north fence line," Jedediah stated abruptly, pulling for his coat. "I've been intending to ride there for days," Martha called as Jedediah reached the door. His demeanor was neutral as he turned. "Want me to do what?" Pain flashed across his face. "My place is not to say," Martha said, gathering her courage. "I guess it is. For nearly a month we've shared your home. My son learned to whittle, and my daughter named constellations with your instruction. You saved Rose with Catherine's medicine. I think you deserve to speak up after all that." Jedediah gripped the doorframe. "What I want doesn't matter. You came west with a good idea. Plans change," Martha whispered. After approaching her, he paused. "Martha, I'm not a sentimental man. Catherine knew that about me." Martha said, "I'm not Catherine," with fire in her voice. "Don't let me replace her in your heart. Not possible, or should it be?" Jedediah agreed, his voice raspy with emotion. "You're unlike her. Her upbringing was gentle and secure. Harder trials made you stronger." Martha was surprised by the compliment. "What prevents you from speaking clearly?" Jedediah held her eyes, showing tenderness and longing behind his restraint. "Fear you'd stay out of gratitude or need, not choice. Fear that you'll regret marrying a tough man with formidable opponents." Martha crossed the room to face him. "Am I a woman who makes decisions out of fear or convenience?" "No," he replied promptly. "The most determined lady I've met is you." Martha, her heart racing, said, "Trust my determination now. Jedediah Blackwood, ask me what you desire." He considered retreating behind his walls for a breathless minute. Suddenly, his wrinkled fingers touched her cheek gently. "Just stay," he urged. "Not as my housekeeper temporarily. Stay with the kids forever. Help me restore this home." The plain-spoken statements were stronger than any sophisticated proposition. Martha put her hand over his, accepting his generosity. Their futures must be reshaped, not just housed. Her biggest fear was that the Granthams would keep threatening. He clenched his jaw. "I confronted them alone for years. Our strength would be combined. Accepting another man's children is no small feat." Very rare smile softened his features. "The first night in the stable, those kids stole my heart. James may be a good rancher. Sarah's wise eyes see everything." He paused, moved by little Rose. "Catherine used to sew at the window where she sits." "Seems right." Martha started crying. Not despair, but the unexpected perfection of finding home in the last place she expected. "I need time," she confessed. "Ensure this is right for everyone." Jedediah said, "Take your time with compassion. Weekly judge returns. Nothing changes till then." But something essential had changed. Martha noticed when Jedediah left for fence repair. The emergency shelter had become something more precious, possible permanent membership. After the kids went to bed, Martha stood in Catherine's sewing room. Jedediah had shown her the treadle machine weeks earlier, shrouded in a cloth to avoid dust. Martha carefully unveiled the mechanism. High-end, well-maintained Singer model. Next to it was Catherine's work basket. Spools of thread and beautifully folded fabric pieces remain. "Your thoughts on this?" Martha whispered to the gone woman who still haunted the house she helped build. "How about another woman taking care of your beloved home? That man you adored." A murmur of wind under the eaves was the only response. Martha felt permission as she stroked the sewing machine's silky wood, as if Catherine's practicality would approve of revitalizing morning rooms. Rose's tired voice called for water from the bedroom across the hall. Martha automatically met her children's demands as usual. Clarity came over her at that regular parenthood moment. This house needed kids' voices. Jedediah needs a resilient, loss-aware companion. Martha knew with shocking conviction that she needed his undemanding strength. A week later, Judge Parsons would grant her safe passage to her chosen destiny. Martha was learning that sometimes the journey's purpose wasn't to reach your destination, but to discover your heart's home. Land Office confirms claimed borders. Judge Parsons said, slapping the official papers on Jedediah's kitchen table. His typical judicial solemnity was softened by a delighted smile. All acreage and water rights are yours without dispute. Jedediah examined the paper's beautiful seals and signatures. Grantham's border disputes and threats made the validation seem implausible after years. Martha, alongside him, tenderly squeezed his arm in congratulations. The judge arrived at the ranch house exactly 1 week after his last visit in his carriage. But this time he had unexpected news. He brought Jedediah's original claim documents to Bismarck's Territorial Land Office for official review. "Why would you help me?" Jedediah inquired, confused. Under bushy white brows, Judge Parsons' eyes twinkled. "I'm done with Silas Grantham's machinations. Last year, a man tried to scam my brother out of his mining claim. Taking off his glasses, he polished them carefully. I've always thought family land should stay family." As he looked at Jedediah and Martha, he emphasized family subtly, kids playing in the winter sun. "Have you decided about Helena, Mrs. Wilkins?" the judge asked. "The stage leaves tomorrow morning and I can get you on." Martha was watched by 3 people. The judge is intrigued, Jedediah is impartial despite his strain in his shoulders, and Sarah's piercing gaze from the doorway where she'd entered stealthily is always alert to adult debates that could affect their future. "My voice is calmer than my heart," Martha said. "We won't visit Helena." Before veiled, Jedediah's expression showed relief. Sarah fled from the doorway, her pattering footsteps suggesting she was racing to tell her siblings. "I suspected so," Judge Parsons responded happily. "Territory has homestead laws. For your arrangement to be acknowledged, some formalities must be met." The subtle marriage reference lingered. Martha felt heat in her cheeks as Jedediah uncomfortably coughed. "One step at a time, Judge," he grumbled. Parsons laughed and grabbed his hat and gloves. "I only mention it as a legal problem, properties, etc." He winked at Martha, "But I'd be thrilled to officiate someday." Excited children's voices filled the house as Sarah, James, and Rose pondered the news that they would stay permanently after the judge left with promises to return in spring. Joy was tempered with doubt. Could they keep their rooms forever? Could they acquire a dog now? Does Mr. Blackwood teach horseback riding? Enough queries. Their joy drove Martha to giggle. "Mr. Blackwood and I must discuss numerous new arrangements." Rose naively asked if we might call him Papa, causing a silence. Martha looked at Jedediah's mixed emotions. She said carefully that was Mr. Blackwood's choice. Jedediah knelt before Rose, his normally harsh features relaxed. "That's a big title, kid. One earned, not given. Your true father loved you deeply." Rose casually stated that he is in heaven. "You're here," the child's logic hanging between them. A unspoken question in Jedediah's gaze met Martha's over Rose's head, turning her heart. Martha softly reassured the children, "We have time to figure things out. Knowing we're staying is enough now." After the kids went to bed, Jedediah and Martha sat by the fire, realizing the gravity of their decision. The sound of horses approaching disturbed their peaceful stillness. "Expect guests?" Martha asked immediately, sensing danger. Jedediah reached for his weapon. "Stay indoors." Martha ignored his instructions and accompanied him to the porch where they saw 3 riders approaching in the dusk. Martha felt a chill from the lead's silhouette. Silas Grantham with his boys. "Blackwood," the elder Grantham called as they stopped respectfully away from the house. "Heard the circuit judge visited you." Jedediah appeared slightly ahead of Martha. "Grantham, speak up." Even at 60, Silas Grantham was imposing, broad-shouldered with a silver-streaked beard and steely eyes that reminded Martha of his son Victor's predatory glare. Grantham responded with fake friendliness, "I came to talk business." Martha noticed how he looked over her dismissively, as if a woman couldn't negotiate vital matters. Her spine tensed at the nonchalant disdain. She confessed that Mr. Blackwood's business worries her. As his companion, the elder man's surprise transitioned to calculation as he reassessed. "I see. That warrants congratulations." Smile never reached his eyes. "Extra reason to evaluate my offer. After all, a new family needs security." Jedediah categorically refused to sell his land. Judge Parsons verified all territorial office borders. "Your assertions lack legality." Grantham's aged face flashed anger before he controlled himself. "April Railroad surveys. They'll seek the finest westward path and cooperating landowners." Was that threatening? Martha asked, standing next to Jedediah. Grantham said progress doesn't wait for stubborn guys. He examined the land, the repaired barn, the well-maintained house, and the new sense of permanency in yard improvements with chilly eyes. Trains provide civilization. Civilization brings law. Law promotes growth. Jedediah said the law protects ownership. Grantham, your threats worked better while I was alone. The days are over. The declaration hovered between them, a line placed around property and the new family growing there. Grantham narrowed his brows at Martha's unwavering support of Jedediah. The porch rail-mounted tiny sled shows youngsters. Unity replaced Jedediah's weakness. Grantham concluded that everyone had a price. Blackwood, I'll find yours, gathering his reins. Keep enjoying your domestic arrangements. Martha exhaled unknowingly as the Granthams rode away. Not giving up. No, coldly agreed Jedediah, but neither are we. Martha spotted Jedediah at his desk examining Judge Parsons' land office records later that night after confirming the kids were asleep. You're worried, she softly noted. Jedediah looked up, the lamplight throwing deep shadows on his face. Grantham's threats are serious. Railroad survey would boost his power. Martha sat opposite him. We need non-Judge Parsons allies. Who else has power in the area? Then Jedediah looked admiring. You're not easily scared. After Daniel died, I stopped fearing. Martha replied plainly, fear doesn't feed or shield kids. Understanding ensued, recognizing how life's hardest blows had strengthened them both. The Hanson family to the east, Jedediah replied, getting practical. Old acquaintance with my father and surveyor Pete Miller. Lives 20 miles north in a mining camp. Martha nodded, considering these allies. Invite the Hansons to Sunday supper. Repair those links. Jedediah looked at her in awe. Catherine always thought that neighbors were the finest safeguard against terrible times. They no longer felt uneasy discussing his first wife. Martha felt a strange connection to this woman she'd never met, as if they shared a common goal. Martha whispered, she and you were right. Standing alone made Grantham's threats operate better. From across the desk, she covered his hand. You're no longer alone. The obvious truth hovered between them. Something deeper than a realistic solution to both their difficulties. Someone neither expected to find after such great grief. Jedediah grabbed her hand, rough calluses on her worn palm. Discuss what the judge said about formalizing. Martha's cheeks heated up. Jedediah Blackwood, are you proposing? A rare smile eased his sternness. Poor work, obviously. My lawyer husband could talk for hours without explaining what he meant. Martha smiled in response. I prefer straightforward, direct speech. Still clutching her hand, Jedediah stood and circled the desk. Though not a great gesturer, his eyes shouted volumes as he knelt before her chair. Will you and your kids join me, Martha Wilkins? Make this house home again? Accept whatever occurs. Grantham's, blizzards, anything. Martha cried at the modest, earnest proposal. Not Daniel's romantic poetry to court her, but something as priceless. Genuine words from a man who meant them. Her answer was simple. We will. A tiny gasp and hasty muttering sounded from the hallway shadows. Martha and Jedediah turned to see three tiny nightclothes-clad creatures staring. Sarah trying to quiet her siblings, James beaming, and Rose holding her wooden horse. Can we stay forever? Hopeful James inquired. Jedediah's uncommon laugh warmed the room. Yes, forever is lengthy, young man. That's the general notion. Martha felt righteous as the youngsters surged forward with excited questions and impromptu hugs. This unusual refuge in difficult circumstances became her heart's home before her intellect comprehended. The Dakota plains were covered with snow, the winter that nearly killed them now protecting their warmth. Martha planted Catherine's beloved rose bushes around the front porch in April sunshine. Dormant plants were protected by heavy snow, and new sprouts promised summer blooming. Sarah carefully patted earth around each replanted bush alongside her. Would Mrs. Catherine mind us relocating her roses? Sarah asked her 9-year-old, who took responsibility seriously. Martha pondered the query. I think she'd like them where everyone can appreciate them. Share beauty. Hammering came from within the home. Together, Jedediah and James turned the little rear room into the boys' bedroom. Rose's cheerful chatter wafted through the open window as she supervised their work with a 4-year-old's solemnity. 2 months had changed the ranch and its people. Spring brought rejuvenation and purpose after winter's trials. Jedediah, formerly isolated and sad, now moved like a half-aged man. The kids flourished under his tough but genuine attention. James watched the rancher's every move with admiration. "Riders coming," Sarah abruptly announced, shielding her eyes from the morning sun. Martha straightened and counted the approaching people. 5 horsemen riding to the ranch home. Her heart fell when she saw Victor Grantham's gray stallion leading. Martha told Sarah quietly, "Inform Jedediah we have guests." Sarah eyed the approaching riders with narrowed eyes before obeying. "Mama, it's not just Granthams. The brown-hatted man is East property owner Mr. Hanson. Isn't that the sheriff?" Martha glanced again and saw her daughter was right. Sheriff Mills rode behind Victor Grantham, his badge visible. Silas, Eli, and Jacob Hanson, their nearest neighbor to the east, also rode. As Jedediah exited with the gun nonchalantly in his hands, the screen door knocked. James watched from the doorway behind him anxiously. Silently, Jedediah told the youngster to stay with his sisters. Riders with an unsettling mix of animosity and official purpose pulled up in the yard to keep them inside. Jedediah and Martha received severe nods from Sheriff Mills. "Blackwood, ma'am, sorry to interrupt your morning, but Mr. Grantham has filed a boundary dispute complaint." As shown, he brought Mr. Hanson to observe the original property lines. Stocky Jacob Hanson, with gentle eyes, looked uncomfortable. "Sheriff, hang on. I refuse to testify against Jedediah. Silas requested me to verify the survey markings." Victor Grantham's chilly smile reminded Martha of a predator, proving our point. Misrecorded North Creek boundary favored Blackwood. Martha could feel Jedediah's stress despite his emotionless countenance. Judge Parsons received the paperwork after verifying all boundaries with the territorial office. Silas Grantham was easily manufactured and dismissed by a circuit judge with no oversight. Anger drove Martha forward. "Mr. Grantham, are you charging a territorial judge of corruption?" The elder Grantham glanced at her in disapproval. "Woman, avoid men's business. My wife speaks for me in all issues." Jedediah spoke immediately, his voice as iron. "You should remember that, Grantham." Despite the conflict, Martha felt warm when he named her his wife for the first time before their wedding. Sheriff Mills interrupted, anxious to finish his disagreeable job. "We merely need to bike to the north boundary and compare survey markers to county data. Simply put," Jedediah calmly said, "we'll do so, but not with 5 men unexpectedly entering my home and frightening my family." He faced Hanson. "You know me 20 years, Jacob. My father brought his first herd here with your help. Will you help me and the sheriff check those markers, neighbor to neighbor?" Hanson seemed split between old loyalties and the powerful Granthams after the direct appeal to honor. Though hesitant, he nodded. "It seems fair," Victor pleaded, but his father restrained him. With calculated patience, Silas told them to leave. "These indicators will speak for themselves." His frigid gaze met Jedediah's. Jedediah said evenly, "We'll wait here like hell. Not within a mile of my home or family. You'll wait in town or on your land." Silas appeared to defy the order for a time. Then he casually gathered his reins. "Please, Victor, Eli, let the inspection proceed normally. We know the result," Silas called over his shoulder as the Granthams turned their horses. "Your report is due by sunset, Sheriff." Sheriff Mills exhaled heavily once they vanished over the rise. "My job is 10 times harder because of their family," Jedediah said. "Thought you were married to Grantham's niece," neutrally but pointedly. Sheriff's aged face blushed. "By marriage, second cousin. It doesn't mean I like running errands." In his saddle, he straightened. "Check those markings and finish." Martha touched Jedediah's arm before the men rode out. "Should I join you?" Shaking his head. "Stay with kids?" "Not long." He soothed her with his confidence, yet she still worried. Martha noticed all 3 children staring at the window inside the house, worried. "Are the wicked guys stealing our home?" Rose asked, lip trembling. Martha held the girl. "No sweetness. Mr. Jedediah has the documentation proving we own this land. Just check some markers, Sheriff. All done." "They brought so many men. Why?" James commanded. His 7-year-old face is fiercely guarded. "That's unfair. Sometimes people think more supporters make them correct." Martha stroked his hair to explain. "Truth operates differently." Sarah's keen eye examined her mother's face. "You fear they'll lie about markings." Martha thought how to speak honestly without frightening them. "I trust Jedediah and Judge Parsons, who verified our allegation, but certainly I worry the Granthams might lie to obtain what they want." Sarah suddenly decided we need proof they can't argue with. She looked at her siblings. Remember Jedediah's special box? Metal under his bed. James nodded eagerly. One with all the necessary papers? Martha had an idea. Sarah, you're right. James, help me relocate the kitchen stool. We must reach Jedediah's closet top shelf. Martha sat at the kitchen table with 20 years of Blackwood family history records 20 minutes later. They had everything she wanted. Original survey maps signed by Jedediah and Silas Grantham's fathers 30 years previously. The yellow document revealed the creek boundary as Jedediah had always claimed. It proves Mr. Jedediah right, James exclaimed, pointing at signatures. Martha agreed. It confirms our claim. But we must deliver it before the Granthams cause additional difficulty, Sarah set up after pondering carefully. I know where they went. The North Creek bend with 3 large cottonwoods. Mr. Jedediah showed me the boundary markings last week when we harvested maple sap. Martha acted quickly. Sarah, stay with Rose. Barricade our exit. I'll take the document to the stream boundary with James. Mama, I want to help. Rose objected. Martha kneeled. Dear brave girl, you help. Someone clever and strong must guard our home while we're away. After accepting this vital duty, Rose nodded seriously as Martha immediately hitched Daisy, Jedediah's gentlest horse, to the little cart. James carried the treasured paper in its oilskin wrapping as they headed north. The travel took longer than Martha expected. The trail was muddy after spring melt, so they had to be careful. James abruptly pointed ahead as they approached the brook. Watch Mr. Jedediah and the sheriff argue. Martha saw 3 horsemen at the creek bend through the scattered trees. Sheriff Mills shouted as Jedediah stood steadfast with arms crossed. Jacob Hansen appeared uneasy between them. Markers relocated. As Martha and James approached, Hansen spoke. Old Tom Blackwood and Francis Grantham said it differently. I'd risk my reputation. A convenient recollection after 30 years, the sheriff said skeptically. County records show. Martha stopped the cart near them and said, We have the original survey map. All 3 men were surprised by the original owner's signatures. Jedediah recovered first, helping Martha off the cart. Why are you here? He asked calmly, concerned rather than angry. Your partner reacted by clutching the oilskin package. In everything, the sheriff carefully unfurled the fragile document. He raised his eyebrows at the bottom's clearly outlined limits and multiple signatures. He reluctantly conceded that this places the creek boundary where Blackwood asserts. These signatures match county records. Hansen bent over, looking at the map. Yes, exactly. I recall their signing day. My father invited me to watch because he believed it was important to observe men resolve conflicts respectfully. The sheriff sighed and refolded the map. Silas is unhappy. Jedediah plainly stated Silas moved the boundary sign. This territory criminalizes that. This correct yet incendiary accusation was met with awkward silence. Sheriff shifted in saddle. It's hard to prove who moved it, he said. Martha firmly replied that it was easy to verify its place. James, who was observing carefully, spoke forward to reset it properly with witnesses. Sir, Mr. Hansen, did you bring your Bible? Papa always felt good books should hold essential promises. Hansen blinked unexpectedly and slowly reached into his saddlebag. I did, son. Travel with it always. Hansen held his family Bible while the men restored the border marker and swore to its right location. In his official ledger, the sheriff noted the original survey map and sworn statements. He assured Martha that he would file this at the county office, stunning her with his integrity despite his Grantham ties. I'll tell Silas myself. Martha unexpectedly decided to join you. All of us. Jedediah looked at her probingly. She held his eyes. Together we faced them. Remember? Today and always. Nodding, he showed understanding and pride. They waited at Sheriff Mills's office in town as he notified Silas Grantham of his findings that afternoon. James and Sarah flanked Jedediah as Martha cradled Rose on her hip, a unified family against Grantham's frigid rage. Not over yet. Blackwood? Silas stormed to the door, threatening. Railroads coming. I hope so, Martha replied cheerfully. We ship wool and beef. Everyone gains from progress, not just thieves. Sheriff Mills shook his head in reluctance after the Granthams left. Never imagined a day when someone defeated Silas. He regarded Martha attentively. I wasn't expecting you after Blackwood took in a widow and orphans. Sheriff, few things go as planned. Martha smiled slightly. Sometimes they improve. Martha observed several townspeople staring at them as they exited the sheriff's office. As they passed, the community that rejected them muttered behind their hands. The children who had revived Blackwood Land, the seamstress who had transformed the lonesome rancher, and Mayor Hollister, exiting from the mercantile, paused at their sight. He reddened, remembering that horrible night when he put them into the dying cold. He stiffly acknowledged Mrs. Wilkins. "I know congrats are due." Martha kept looking at him. "Mayor, they are. Judge Parsons will officiate our wedding next Sunday. Yes, you and your wife can attend." The mayor struggled to respond to the kind but pointed invitation. Jedediah's lips twitched with enjoyment beside her. As they approached their wagon, he said, "You're a greater Christian than me." "Not better," Martha gently said, "just sensible. Many years as neighbors. We should start as we mean to go." The wedding was planned, under Catherine's apple tree from years ago. Judge Parsons presided with dignity and joy before half the county, some out of kindness, others curious. Martha stood next to Jedediah in her newly stitched blue dress with Sarah, James, and Rose as satellites. She admired their excursion, from nearly freezing to death in Coldridge's brutal streets to settling on this gorgeous, hard-won acreage. "Martha Elaine Wilkins, is this man your legally married husband?" Judge Parsons said. Martha gazed up at Jedediah, this tricked, respectable man who opened his home and heart when others turned away. The man who taught James to whittle, braided Sarah's hair gently, and escorted Rose to observe hawk nests in high trees. She replied clearly, "I do. Does Jedediah Thomas Blackwood consider this woman your legally married wife?" "I do," Jedediah said. He spoke confidently. Big smile from Judge Parsons. "I declare you husband and wife under Dakota Territory jurisdiction." After winking at the kids, they were a family. Evening celebrations included food and good wishes from neighbors. Even the Hansons' two boys joined James in eager barn loft exploration, creating lifelong buddies. Sarah helped Martha gain confidence serving visitors, while Rose's simple questions and insights delighted everyone. After visitors left and children slept well, Martha and Jedediah stood on the porch under the stars. Warm and safe, his arm rested around her waist. "Did you expect this when you found us in your stable that night?" Martha asked against his strength. Jedediah pondered it. "I didn't. I wanted to keep kids from freezing to death." His arm clung to her. "I didn't expect to save myself." Martha grasped his meaning. He avoided the isolation that nearly overtook him following Catherine's death by protecting her family. "Closed doors allow others to open," she whispered, mimicking her grandmother's advice. A little sound came from within the home. Sleepy Rose requesting water. Martha instinctively responded, but Jedediah gently stopped her. He said, "I'll go. Long enough of caring for them alone. Now my turn." Martha stayed on the porch and looked across their new home as he went inside. Moonlight illuminated the North Creek barrier, safe in its place. Dakota's enormous area reached distant mountains beyond it, both harsh and beautiful, difficult and rewarding. Like life, Martha reflected. Like the unplanned voyage that took a cold, desperate widow and her children to a lonely rancher one frigid winter night. Inside, she heard Jedediah's deep voice comforting Rose and the child's dreamy chuckle. Martha smiled, cherishing these noises. Finding your heart's home was more important than attaining your destination on some voyages. Winter's grace and adversity strengthened the Blackwood family. Home was here. Together, they would defend this country through all seasons.